Hi everyone, Teddy Baldassarre with TeddyBaldassarre.com, and in this video we're looking at a brand new model from Longines with the Longines Flagship Heritage Moonphase. So in this video and on this channel we cover watches available for purchase on our website, TeddyBaldassarre.com, as an authorized dealer. So in this video, deep dive on this timepiece, final points of consideration at the end, but also throughout this video if you have further questions or looking to buy the watch, check out the link in the description down below to the product page. But without further ado, let's jump into the video and take a closer look at this watch. Dating back to their foundation in 1832, Longines has a rich history of innovation, hardly being rivaled by even the greatest of names in the industry, while offering a diverse collection and class-leading finishing for their price segment. Looking at the historical context of Longines is an important aspect of being able to appreciate the brand for what it represents today. This is a brand responsible for many firsts in the industry, and I would recommend checking out my full video visiting their manufacturer earlier this year if you want a deep dive into an understanding of their past and how that informs their future. A pillar of Longines' classic collection is their Heritage line, which has seen an influx of new models in the last several years: Flagship Heritage, Longines Sector Dials, Legend Diver options, and much, much more. And today we'll be looking at yet another entry into that collection with this Longines Flagship Heritage Moonphase that, although it does share a similar name with a dressier model just mentioned, has been introduced with a case and dimension set all its own, as well as what the name suggests, a Moonphase complication, and being available in a few different dial colors to choose from, with a sunburst blue, a sunburst silver, and a semi-gloss cream colored dial with some gold accents. First, looking at the wearing experience presented by this watch, Longines has aimed at a broader audience, updating their approach to case design, with this particular model measuring in with a case diameter of 38.5 millimeters, a thickness of 12.3 millimeters, and a fairly restrained lug-to-lug of 45.9 millimeters. In totality, I would say this watch wears rather true to size when it comes to its top-to-bottom length, and its proposed case diameter of 38.5 millimeters, if not wearing slightly larger as a byproduct of that large dial opening. One other consideration here has to be the thickness. 12.3 millimeters is not the thickest of watches on the market, but also not the thinnest. And when you're looking at a watch that emulates much of the design style of classic ultra-thin Moonphase watches, I think of something like the JLC Master Ultra Thin Moon. You could have some maybe having an issue with that, but you should still have no issue of this sliding underneath the dress cuff. Set between 19mm lugs is a genuine alligator leather strap backed with a softer calf leather for more comfortable feel on wrist and color matching stitching along its length. Following a gentle taper from 19mm to just over 17mm at the strap, it terminates at a polished steel pin buckle affixed with the Longines flying hourglass logo, lending to the overall dress visuals. Out of the box, the strap does have some padding, which will be quite stiff to break in, but once you do so, you should have no problem in having this be a great everyday companion with the watch itself. Given the flexibility that comes with this dial, you might opt for some third-party options as well. Unlike other models in this Heritage collection, Longines has opted to set this watch apart using a variety of finishing techniques while shaping the case in a more angular profile than what is typically seen in other dress watches. Beginning with a view on the dial side, the round case shape is set with a fully polished bezel featuring a flat surface angled away from the slightly domed sapphire crystal before transitioning to a curved surface leading to horizontally brushed vertical sides. The compact lugs follow in a similar suit, though opting for each chamfered surface to remain flat rather than a curve, with a flat polished top surface meeting a polished angled flat before again meeting the brushed sides. A small note on attention to detail in the finishing here is with the pleasing way in which the vertical brushing uniformly joins the sides of the case body to the sides of those lugs, interrupted only at 3 o'clock where the relatively small 5.2mm push-pull polished crown sits with grooves cut around the dome polished and signed top. As you turn the watch over, you take up view of the case back, a polished outer ring that encompasses the holdover design detail from the Flagship family, with a brushed surface setting the stage for the Flagship medallion at its center, depicting the gold relief of a detailed merchant vessel set at sea with a visually striking blue color. And given that this is in that dress category, this watch is going to have 30 meters of water resistance. Flipping the watch back over to its dial side, you have a sapphire crystal with anti-reflective coating on both the top and the bottom in this case. Following the brushed inner bezel down, the dial rises from its edge to meet the polish applied indices. A painted minute track runs the inner circumference of the hour markers, interrupted between 5 and 7 by the bottom half of the Moonphase and date subregister. At its center, polished rhodium plated Dauphine hands affixed with a small strip of loom down its center and running second hand pass over the Longines Flagship text at 12, paired with the applied winged hourglass logo in the date and Moonphase subregister at 6. By far the standout design detail of this watch is the Moonphase complication. Step down into the dial at 6 o'clock, the painted date track encircles the Moonphase complication with a radially textured surface cut away into the shape of the cloud, setting the foreground of the Moonphase wheel. The sunburst dials of the blue and silver have a different way of reflecting in the light compared to the semi-gloss cream dial that evokes more of a vintage look while simplifying legibility, especially in direct light. Time setting here works in the traditional fashion when the crown is fully extended, while the date is set by rotating the crown towards you in the first extended position and then rotating away from you to set the position of the Moonphase wheel. Now, powering this and making this all possible is the caliber L899, a caliber base known as the ETA A31.L91. One of the great benefits of Longines in differentiating against other brands in their price segment are getting movements that are not your run-of-the-mill Bosch calibers, while also doing their own assembly and testing within their facility, something that I saw firsthand when I was visiting them in Switzerland. In terms of accuracy, Longines does an excellent job of regulating their calibers, especially at this price tier, with all 3 of these models being tested across 5 different positions and measuring in an average of -3 to +5 seconds per day, running at a more unconventional beat frequency of 3.5 Hz or 25,200 vibrations per hour. This movement offers hacking and hand winding, hacking stopping the second hand when you pull the crown to the farthest position, and an impressive power reserve of 72 hours. Also to go along with that is this movement is going to have a silicon balance spring, some up resistance in the magnetic field department, certainly a movement that is going to do the job and be of its price tier, especially considering the inadequate amount of Moonphases I believe there is in this price segment. All right, so now to unpack when looking at this Longines Flagship Heritage Moonphase, look at some of the final considerations, pros and cons. Now, to begin with some of the negatives here, and I would say this is the primary one, and it's not a huge point, but this watch does sit a little higher on the risk compared to some other dress watches out there, especially considering Longines' other offerings within their either master collection and some of their heritage models. 12.3 millimeters is the thickness, but with that case back, it might sit on the wrist a little higher than what some might like. Then the final point I'll mention too with the cons is just there's a lot of competition within the dress category from Longines. Maybe not as much from the Moonphase complication, but some of the toughest competition in this segment comes from Longines themselves. You have the flagship heritage models, the Heritage Classic sector, the Silver Arrow, the other Master Collection models that are not heritage pieces. And that's just scratching the surface when it comes to Longines. There's just a lot to get lost in. And then you also, just above, have another tier of brands that might start on the pre-owned market becoming more readily available, but that still would probably be, thousands more if you are looking at that next tier. Shifting to the pros, Longines has had a very busy year for designing new watches. And I think they did a nice job with these. Symmetry is there, a few different dial options to choose from, wearable dimensions on many aspects, and even with that thickness, will slide underneath the majority of dress cuffs out there. The Moonphase complication, despite appealing more to the romantic idea than actually being functional, is one of my favorite complications in all of watchmaking. And finishing on the dial is phenomenal. I love the blue dial color version personally the most, but it is a close second and third there. It's hard to really pick out my favorite here. So how would I classify these? Are these going to be maybe as class leading as something like the Longines Spirit Zulu Time and those Hydra Conquest GMTs that we just recently saw? No. And just because it's maybe not on that same tier doesn't mean that this watch is not one of the better propositions for a Moonphase watch in its price segment, and a good looking one at that. But all right, guys, thank you again so much for watching. That's all we have for this one. If you did enjoy the video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and hit the bell icon. Really would appreciate that, and it does help out the channel. Also, if you are interested in buying this watch, you can definitely check it out on TeddyBaldassarre.com. TeddyBaldassarre.com is an authorized dealer of over 30 brands, quick and fast fulfillment, dedicated customer support, and a full factory warranty for all the products that we offer. Also, how we're able to fund all of our productions here and on our main channel is through selling watches. So if you are in the market for a watch, we'd absolutely love to have your business. We know you can buy a watch pretty much anywhere nowadays, but it allows us to keep doing what we're doing, and we love what we do. But guys, thank you guys so much for watching. Be well, and I will see you all very soon.